Welcome to Anews. I'm Umar Taslim and you're watching Turkey's Diplomacy. Tensions in the Middle East are escalating as Lebanon moves to disarm Hezbollah by August 31st, despite the group's firm rejection and Israel's ongoing ceasefire violations. In the occupied Gaza Strip, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing ahead to invade Gaza City, threatening 1 million people as the Palestinian death toll nears 63,000. Joining me to discuss all the latest developments is Dr. Nurhan El-Baya, Professor of Strategic Studies at the Istanbul Aydın University and a consultant for the United Nations Development Program.
All right, back down, please. Yes? Okay, if everyone could take their seats, we're going to ask Ambassador Barak to come up.
Okay, wait. We're going to have a different set of rules, right? Please be quiet for a moment. And I want to tell you something. The moment that this starts becoming chaotic, like animalistic, we're gone. So you want to know what's happening? Act civilized, act kind, act tolerant, because this is the problem with what's happening in the region. So I beg you, do you think this is fun for us? Do you think this is economically beneficial for Morgan and I to be here putting up with this insanity? In cadence, with your kindness, your interest, and your thoughtful questions, we'll give you responses. If that's not how you'd like to operate, we're gone. Okay? Is that acceptable to everybody?
Welcome back to the program. Dr. Nurhan El-Baya, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Nurhan, let's start with Tom Barak's statement. Now, obviously, he has caused a lot of controversy, not just in Lebanon, but also in the entire region, calling journalists animalistic, labeling Hezbollah a terrorist group. Obviously, these things are not preferred by the Lebanese when we come and discuss the Hezbollah group. Now, Nurhan, I want to start by asking you, what are your views about the latest statements that Tom Barak made in Beirut?
I can call it simply empire of delusion, because Omar, actually we exceeded the double standards. We are not talking now about double standards. We exceeded this definition. They are living an empire of delusion. And which civilized they are talking about? I wish he can give me example of civilized behavior from their side. The U.S. invasion in Iraq was civilized? Do you think so? The only nation used nuclear bomb, civilized? Using Agent Orange in Vietnam, if you remember, it caused, it was like a disaster. It caused birth issues, lots of people passed away, died, killed. Is it civilized? Financing and supporting Israel in this catastrophe in Gaza. Is it civilized? Sending millions, billions of weapons since October 7th. Is it civilized? Killing journalists live in front of everyone. Civilized? Not chaotic at all. Man-made famine for more than 2 million people in Gaza. Not chaotic, not animalistic, civilized. But those who have been killed and still because of starvation, those people are animalistic, right? from his point of view. Which civilized behaviors he is talking about? The envoy of U.S. and Syria and Lebanon, along with Morgan.
Nurhan, critics have said that, that's colonial arrogance. And now people are trying to undermine his credibility. And obviously we know what his role is in the Middle East. He's the U.S. envoy to the Middle East, taking control, looking at the issues that are in the Middle East. How are people going to, look at these statements and look at his presence from this point onwards?
It's very colonial language, as you mentioned, very colonial arrogance. And by the way, this will take us back with the time to Orientalism theory. The academician and the writer Edward Said, I will mention a very small sentence in his book called Orientalism Theory. He mentioned that the West's stereotypical and usually contentious portrayal of Eastern world. And by the way, we can watch it and observe it live in the modern Middle East nowadays. For example, Yoav Gallant, how many times he describes Palestinians as human animals? In the government, Israeli government language, by the way, which the leaders always in Israel, they call the country which is vanguard of culture, which is against the, between big brackets, the barbarism of Arabs. This is colonial, another type of colonial language or colonial arrogance, unfortunately. Another prime minister in Israel as well, he was describing Palestinians and he said they are like beasts walking on two legs.
Very unfortunate.
Unfortunately.
Nurhan, Israel and the United States, when we saw when the war started in 2023, they labeled Hamas as a terrorist organization. Now they've done the same with Hezbollah. And these are not terrorist organizations. These are resistance groups. When Israel attacks, they resist. So what sort of an impact would that have on Hezbollah and those who support the group when it comes to disarmament? Do you think, obviously some people support Hezbollah, some people are not in favor of the group. How does, this label, how will this label affect Hezbollah, the terrorist label? Obviously, this is another move by the United States to, tell people in the Middle East that these are terror groups, we need to remove them, we need to eliminate their presence. How are people now thinking about Hezbollah, when we look at these remarks?
Initially, it will not affect Hezbollah because if we will go back with the time, Hezbollah has been established in 1985. The reason behind establishing Hezbollah was the occupation of Israel in southern of Lebanon. So from 1985 till 2000. So this was the main reason behind establishing Hezbollah. And Hezbollah since that time took this coverage of being resistance. So this will not affect being or calling Hezbollah they are against the government or they are terrorists, etc., whatever. This will not affect because we raise actually hearing same sentences, but when it comes to actions,
there are no actions.
This will be the biggest point. In 2000, in the war of Israel 2000, who defended Lebanon? Who get rid of Israeli presence in south of Lebanon in 2000? We cannot deny this. Those are facts. We cannot deny this.
Nurhan, just in the last year, I'll read some names of Hezbollah leaders who were killed by Israel.
Yeah.
Hassan Nasrallah killed in September 2024. Fuad Shukr killed in 2024, July 30th. Yes. Mohammed Nasser, Talib Abdullah, Ibrahim Akil, Ahmed Mahmoud, Wahbi, Ibrahim Kobesi. All of these Hezbollah leaders were killed in 2024. So we know what Israel is trying to do right now. It's trying to create panic. It's trying to occupy Lebanese territories. Now, when we think about the disarmament plan, do you think this is going to work when people know these are the leaders that have been killed by Israel?
Okay, we have to know something, that disarmament plan, this is not the first one. The disarmament topic in Lebanon is so old, by the way. We can, again, go back with the time. It started actually, the first plan was during a Ta'if agreement in 1992. A Ta'if agreement which ended the Lebanese civil war already since started 1975 till almost 1990 or 1991. After that, all parties in Lebanon, they met in Saudi Arabia. That's why they call it a Ta'if agreement. And this was the first agreement that forced or talked about disarmament in Lebanon. And no one committed with this resolution. This was the first one. The second one came in 2004, which was the UN resolution number 1559 in 2004. Again, we didn't see any findings or solutions. Another one came in early of 2006, UN resolution number 1680 for disarmament as well. Also no solutions. The last one, which happened exactly after the Lebanese war in summer 2006, the UN resolution, which the full name United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701. This was the last UN resolution revealed for disarmament and to end this issue in Lebanon, and still no one took it seriously. So that's why they are always repeating that this is from the government perspective, or from always in Lebanese government speech, that Lebanon still committed and sticking to the UN resolution number 1701. They are always repeating this sentence. But we didn't see any results since summer 2006.
So, Nurhan, on Sunday, the 31st of August, there's going to be another plan that will be presented.
Yes.
What do you think about that plan? What's going to be in that plan? What will it consist of?
Look, we have here three scenarios. Scenario number one, which will be a symbolic plan, which, by the way, this will be the most probable one, as usual. Same way, they're going to follow UN resolution number 1701, the symbolic one. It will be just weakness or weaken the power of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. That's it. And we cannot deny that. Hezbollah got affected so much after the Lebanese war, September 2023. So this, the scenario which is most probable will happen, this symbolic implementation. The scenario B, which is normalization, and integration of Hezbollah. How? Lots of people, they are arguing about why not let's use Hezbollah fighters and try to integrate them with Lebanese army or LAF, Lebanese armed forces, individually and not separately. They shouldn't create separate group. No, individually, to be involved, to be mingled as part of LAF, Lebanese American forces. Scenario number 3, which is unfortunately civil war. If this happened, a clash will happen, a fight will happen, conflict will happen between Hezbollah and LAF, Lebanese armed forces, which is the Lebanese army, and this will lead to, unfortunately, civil war, which Naim Qassem, in his last speech last week or 10 days ago, he was warning the Lebanese government about this scenario always. So don't follow, he was warning, don't follow Israel and America's pressure, because this will lead to civil war and conflict between Hezbollah and Lebanese armed forces.
Nurhan, I want to ask you something else now. Obviously, staying with the topic of Lebanon.
Yes.
Now, we know, like, for years, Lebanon has suffered, economically, financially,
Yes,
politically.
yes.
Experts have said that around $11 billion are needed to reconstruct Lebanon after everything that it has seen over the past few years. Now, when we talk about, these plans, these US-backed plans, another point that I want to mention here is that Tom Barak said Hezbollah members could be, disarmed, and then they could be sent to economic zones in southern Lebanon. And these economic zones will be funded by Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. So basically, they're trying to disarm them and then trying to give them jobs. What do you think about that? And how does, the Lebanese public, how do you think the Lebanese public is going to react to this?
Did they succeed to send Gaza people, sorry to move to another topic, but it's same point.
It's the same idea.
It's the same idea. Did they succeed to send Gaza people to Egypt and Jordan?
No. That's also another problem.
It's by the way, same idea exactly, which we are here going around, walking around the idea of discourse. They are always following the strategy of making discourse. And by the way, sometimes they really succeed in doing it. I remember I raised with the idea, with the discourse of war on terrorists. If you remember Afghanistan, right? War on terrorists, war on terrorists. We just discourse, repeating the same scenario, same scenario, same scenario. So when this happened, and when they started the military operation in Afghanistan, along with the British military, and when the September 11th happened in America, they said, this is the terrorist we are talking about. This is the terrorist we want to make a war against it. And everyone actually believed.
It's always the Muslims who are labeled as terrorists, right?
Exactly.
Always the Muslims. They're uncivilized, they're terrorists, they're Islamists, they want to kill the West, they want to attack people in the West, they want to take away American civilization, Western civilization. Why are we always being blamed, Nurhan? Why is the blame always on us?
Because of the theory of white man burden. The theory of white man burden, it is the reason actually behind what we are or where we reach now. White man burden theory established in the 19th century during the colonial period, established basically by European people. And this theory gave them full authority to do whatever they want, to take whatever they want, and to give them the full right just because they are European, because they call them white, they call themselves white men. So this was behind all colonial operations in Arab countries and Middle East. And till now, we are still, as Middle Easterns and Arabs, paying the price of this theory established in Europe in 19th century, unfortunately.
Nurhan, obviously we're only talking about Hezbollah, right? That Hezbollah must disarm, Hezbollah must lay down its weapon. But Hezbollah is there because of Israel. And Israel has occupied 5 key areas in southern Lebanon. If I can have that graphic on the screen behind me. Israel has always attacked Lebanon. It has been a huge issue for every government that has been in control of Lebanon, how to defend against Israel. And now, there are some areas, there are 5 key areas which have been, illegally occupied by the Israelis. Tell me more about that. Because Hezbollah says that Israel needs to withdraw from these areas. If you want us to disarm, then Israel must also withdraw.
Yes.
So tell me about this. Why is Israel still holding on to these Lebanese territories illegally?
Okay. The war in Lebanon started September 2024. Actually, it started slowly with pager operation in 17th and 18th of September 2024. It was like a shock to everyone pager operation, and it killed so many people, killed and injured in total more than 2,000 Lebanese people. Both sides, either they are with Hezbollah or Hezbollah members, or civilians and even kids.
Innocent people were injured and killed.
Exactly. So it started in that day. After that, operation has been escalated and reached to full military operation in September 2024. What happened after that? An agreement of ceasefire in early of 2025 has been conducted. Both sides, Hezbollah and Israel, were forced to full ceasefire and withdrawal from, of course, the Israeli military forces should withdraw from the Lebanese lands. But till now, we are in August 2025. Still, Israel has present on the Lebanese land. They still taking more than 19 kilometers square from Lebanese lands. Plus, they are controlling 5 key strategic points in south of Lebanon. So in this case, they didn't care about the agreement. They have broke the agreement. Actually, we are still in August, and the U.S. envoy couple of days ago was talking about civilized behavior, unfortunately. But here, I would like to tell you the reason first, but sorry, before telling the reason, I need to clarify and I need to explain a little bit briefly, if I have time, those 5 points already in the south of Lebanon, as you can see on the screen. Number one, Labboune hill, actually, and before I start, we have to know something. Those 5 points, all of them located on a very high altitude locations. Why? To take oversight of Israel northern borders. So those 5 strategic key locations well studied actually before taking them. The first location, which is Labboune in Al-Mashab in Tyre district, this gives the Israeli arms, overlooks the coastline and the UNIFIL headquarters in Naura and the border town of Shlomi, one of the settlements located in the north of Israel. The second location, which is Jabal Blat, as shown on the screen, near Ramyeh bint Shbeil district, provides strategic vision over the southern coast and Israeli settlements as Shtula and Zarait. Number 3, which is Jal Deir, south of Aitroun bint Shbeil district, which is facing Avimim settlement. This is settlement number 4, and number 5, Malikiya on the Israeli side. The position number 4, which is along of Markaba Hula Road in Marjayoun district, overlooks Marjalyut and acts as a buffer in the eastern sector. The last one, which is Hamamas Hill, it's in terms of altitude, by the way, this is the shortest one near Khiam, and Marjayoun district has vintage over Khiam, the Hasbaya region, and faces Mitola, which one of the settlements in north of Israel. Can you imagine those 5 key hills, those 5 high altitude locations, very strategic? They secured themselves in a perfect way. No one can say to them, till now, by the way, no one said to them that what you are doing, you are breaking the agreement. No one sent them any type of warnings, by the way, from both sides, from the Lebanese government as well as from the United states.
It's just like the occupied Golan Heights as well. Geographically, it's important for Israel.
Omar. It's officially occupation. They are doing whatever they want in this area, especially in south of Lebanon. By the way, every week there's a bomb over there. Bomb. Sometimes they steal some stuff. Couple of weeks ago, they have stolen a very heavy truck in south of Lebanon. They have the freedom to do anything. They are dealing with this area as part of Israel. And on the other hand, Lebanese government dealing with this part as not anymore from Lebanon. Unfortunately, this is so sad.
Nourhan, why is the Lebanese government so weak?
They are so fragile. Maybe I think they are more than weak. They are so fragile and so passive. They are well controlled by not only one key player in the community, in the international community, no. They have minimum 4 key players controlling them. The new Lebanese government, unfortunately, which was supported, we all know, by US, and the new president has been elected, which he was a general in the LAF, Lebanese Armed Forces. He was supported by US, especially he came after a very, very, very long gap, by the way. Lebanon stayed for 2 years, maybe more, without president. I was living in Lebanon for 1 year. At that time, in this gap, no president, no government. The government places, centers, governments were not working.
Just lawlessness, basically.
Very, very, very. I remember even the court house not working. Nothing is working. So this failure, actually, this is a big failure of a state. Unfortunately, when I talk about a state in the Middle East, in Arab country, Lebanon supposed to work in totally different direction, supposed to strengthen itself more and more, supposed to prove its presence in the region. But what's happening, they are going back. They are weakness. They are so weak, so fragile. After Barak press conference, the presidential palace actually posted a very, very fragile post on X, expressing and trying to apologize to those journalists who were at that time in this press conference, even without mentioning the name of the US envoy.
You know, Nourhan,
it was anonymous, like anonymous post. This Barak, he was in the middle of the country, in the middle of Lebanon, in Babda, in the presidential palace, on the podium of the presidential palace, starting humiliating you, your journalists, the Lebanese journalists, the culture, even in Lebanon, he's starting schooling the journalists in front of him about the culture. He told them you shouldn't rely on outside influences, otherwise you're gonna substitute McDonald's with kibbeneye. Kibbeneye, by the way, it's a very cultural Lebanese dish. It's so straightforward humiliation.
It's very unfortunate to hear such comments, Nourhan. But you know what I personally believe is, remember in 2021 there was the Beirut port blast. Obviously, we've seen Lebanon facing wars, civil unrest, but that blast changed the dynamics of Lebanon. That was really bad.
True.
But now, Nourhan, let's move on to another topic. Let's go back to Israel, actually, but what it's doing with the Palestinians in the occupied Gaza Strip. Now, we all know Netanyahu's plans, his security cabinet, his cabinet, everything. Everyone has approved plans. In fact, they've not just approved plans, they've asked Netanyahu to intensify those plans when they're talking about occupying the Gaza Strip. Now, they've approved the occupation of Gaza City. How are you looking at this plan, Nurhan? And, considering there's no global backlash as well when it comes to starvation, man-made famines, there's no global backlash. And similar is the case with what we're seeing right now. What are your views on this?
Gaza is not a new topic in October 7th. No, it didn't start in October 7th, by the way. Gaza always was an issue and a rock in the middle of the road of Israel. Example of that, the Prime Minister in 1992, Ishaq Rabin, he was in a meeting with delegations came from Washington. They wanted to discuss the situation in Palestine, and he told them, my dream, and I would like one day to wake up and I found Gaza sank in the sea.
It is like that right now.
So it was a dream for them. Why? Because Gaza was so hard for them to take, and still it's so hard for them to take. So they are thinking now it's their chance. They tried several times to take Gaza and they failed. Now, because of the circumstances surrounding them, because we all know that Israel backed by America, America is trying to smooth the operation and to smooth the conditions and to smooth the circumstances surrounding Israel. So that's why we call this in international relations, this structure. So U.S. is trying to smoothen the circumstances surrounding Israel. Why? To be easy for Israel to expand. See, South Lebanon, Julan, in Syria, and Jabal al-Sheikh, in Syria. Israel now is bombing around 4 countries at the same time. At the same time.
Yemen on Sunday, last Sunday, we saw what happened in Yemen.
Exactly. The 12 days war, Iran, Iraq. How many countries? But now they are bombing around 3 to 4 countries at the same time. At the same time. This
Nurhan,
is unfortunate, yes.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Now, we've mentioned Iran, we've mentioned Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, but there are 2 other countries, Jordan and Egypt. And Netanyahu is saying that they might accept the Palestinians which the Netanyahu government is going to displace from the occupied Gaza Strip. What are your views on that? How do you think Egypt and Jordan are reacting right now? What are the problems that they're facing?
Israel or Jordan, same as any other Arab country, they are in a silent mood because of the interest. They cannot take any decision by their own. And we agreed with that. Because if they wanted to take decisions since the beginning, they would. They would do it easily.
For example, opening the Rafah border crossing?
For example. This is a very simple example. But no actions, no resolutions, no solutions. Why? Because of conflict of interests. Loss of interest between Jordan and Israel. On the other hand, Egypt and Israel. Another thing, don't forget the fear of breaking the peace agreement. They have always this fear. This fear is always running after them. Number 3, both nations, Jordanians and Egyptians, they have their own internal and domestic issues.
Indeed.
Both nations are suffering from very bad economic situations, by the way. They are busy with dealing with their own domestic issues, especially the bad economical situation, actually. So the presidential, or let's say the leaders in Egypt and the leaders in Jordan, they have this fear, because if they try just to open their mouth and if they try just to talk, maybe Jordanians or Egyptians will protest against them. And we shouldn't forget something. Both nations, both countries, the system of leadership, political leadership, authoritarian leadership. In authoritarian political leadership, they always have this fear. They don't want to lose the authority due to simple protest or something, same as what happened in Arab Spring in 2011.
I mean, yeah, we've seen how people have protested in Jordan and Egypt, but then
Exactly.
those protests have been suppressed and people have been detained, people have been beaten.
And
Look
after
at
that-
Turkey. We've been protesting. There have been demonstrations in Turkey, pro-Palestine demonstrations. You know, the country's giving a voice to the Palestinians. But when we actually look at what's happening in Egypt and Jordan, it is terrifying. And now the government is also being criticized for its deal that it signed with Israel, the $35 billion gas deal that Egypt has signed with Israel. Where do we go from this point onwards, Nourhan?
Yeah, in the middle, in the middle of such catastrophe, and we are still making deals instead of stopping commercial and trade agreements, and instead of finding other alternatives. By the end of the day, Israel is not our mother. But by the end of the day, this country is not the only country. We have as a country, Jordan, Egypt, even other countries. I can move to a country which, by the way, doesn't have economic issues. Saudi Arabia, for example. Why Saudi Arabia is silent? Why United Arab Emirates is silent? They are busy with the development process, Saudi Vision 2030, same in United Arab Emirates. So they don't want any obstacle to be in front of them while they are trying to develop. So they decided to ignore this issue totally, and they decided to just focus in the domestic development process. This is how they think. I just brought example for country doesn't suffer that much from economic issues, and other countries such as Jordan and Egypt. But unfortunately, even working Jordan and Egypt, they are key players in the negotiations, by the way. We didn't see any improvement. We didn't see any progress. We didn't see anything related to the negotiation. Where are the key players in this negotiation between Hamas and Israel?
And when they do start these negotiations, they always stall, or there's nothing concrete that comes out of these negotiations. We've been seeing, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, United States. All of these countries have been negotiating with both of these parties, Hamas and Israel, but we haven't seen anything that's concrete so far.
The result is zero so far. So what's here playing a major role is actually the interest in general, but specifically the economic interest, because again, those two countries are suffering deeply from economic problems. And don't forget something in Jordan. Jordan, a very high percentage of Jordanians, they are from Palestinian origins. So in Jordan, they are thinking from this way. They don't want something to affect the Jordanian political leaders.
And their stability,
like,
basically.
For example, something like coup attempt or something from Jordanians from Palestinian origins. Especially they experienced something very, very, very similar to this in 1960s, by the way. So they are trying to just ban any type of protesting. As you just mentioned, in Egypt and Jordan, actually they banned any type of protesting. And if you decided to do so, they will just take you out.
Dr. Nourhan Al-Baya, thank you so much for joining us in the studio. It was a pleasure listening to your analysis on what's going on in Lebanon, Israel, and the occupied Gaza Strip.
Thank you so much, Umar. Thank you so much.
That brings us to the end of our program. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.